I'm not a person for intros. So I'm just gonna dive straight into it. And I was reminiscing, okay? I have a lot of spare time. I spend a lot of time by myself. Honestly, if I had more friends, no, hold on, correction. If I spent less time alone, I don't think I would have a podcast, because a part of this podcast is genuinely me having this inner dialogue between you guys, but you're not here. So really and truly, I'm just talking to myself. And honestly, in the past 2 months that Female Genius hasn't been here, it hasn't been present, it hasn't been a thing, right? In my life, it's been a thought in my head, but I haven't been sitting down every week to record an episode. I've gone stir crazy. This is an addiction. This is an unhealthy relationship. I'm walking around my house being, hey guys, welcome to Female Genius. To nothing, to no mic, to no camera, right? Practicing for my return, and my return is finally here. Because I spend a lot of time alone, I spend a lot of time reminiscing. And one thing I was reminiscing recently was a holiday that me, my sister, and my mom took when I was 10. So me, my sister, my mom, we went on holidays quite a bit when I was younger, particularly to America because she had a lot of family in America. This time we were visiting New Jersey and New York because one of my mom's really good childhood friends had lived in New Jersey. And one of my prized possessions as a child was my pink Nintendo DS. Guys, I had that device until it was falling. Literally, like the screen had come off by the time I got a new one. And I loved it so much. And me and my sister, I had a Nintendo DS and she had a Nintendo DSi because she was older. So she got better things and it used to really piss me off, but it's fine. And we had both bought it naturally on this holiday because we were in America for 3 weeks. Like we were there for a minute. And so typically we would go out quite a bit and we would go out to, restaurants and shopping and to different events and to different places. And this very particular day, me, my mom, my mom's friend, and my sister, we were all going to go to the mall, the shopping mall, right? We were going to the shopping center and we were going to go to Chuck E. Cheese in the shopping center. If you don't know what Chuck E. Cheese is, it's a very American thing. I can't think of a British equivalent, but it's really scary now that I think about it. It's giving Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, it's this pizza place with mediocre pizza, and it's like these giant animatronic animals are singing. And so as we're preparing to go out, I go to my sister and I'm like, hey, like, make sure you bring your Nintendo because we can play Mario and Sonic Winter Olympic games together because we both had the little Nintendo game. And I was like, we can play team players, like we need to get to the next level. My sister's 6 years older than me, for context. And so she must have been like 15 at the time. And I feel like this is my theory. This is not confirmed. And she may say something different. But I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that she said no to bringing her Nintendo and playing with her 9-year-old sister because she didn't want to look uncool for the American boys. Okay? I don't want to put words and thoughts into her mouth, but I'm going to put words and thoughts into her mouth for the sake of the story. And I feel like that's why she said no to me, because she was like, I'm not bringing it. Like, that's so uncool. Like, you want me to sit in the mall playing games with you, or like, in Chuck E. Cheese playing games with you, like that's so childish. I have other things to do and other people to look at. And she was just basically acting really uppity and like almighty and just like she was better than me. So I was like, fine, don't bring your Nintendo, like it's cool, like it's fine. I took my Nintendo because I was like, I'm gonna have fun regardless. With or without you, I'm playing this game. So I bring my Nintendo with me. We're all out. We're in the shopping mall. We bought a few things. We're just about to go into Chuck E. Cheese. And my mom's friend, my auntie, right, for sakes of this story, my auntie gets a phone call from her next door neighbor. And her next door neighbor is like, I'm up at your house. And my auntie goes, what? Like, the neighbor's like, yeah, no, genuinely. I hear them like taking things. I look through the thing. They had like the ski masks on. They're robbing your house. My mom's first thought is, have you called the police? Remember, we're British, by the way. I don't know if Americans' first instinct is to call the police, but my first instinct, if somebody was robbing my neighbor's house, is to call the police and not the neighbor. Because Loki, your house could also be next. Why are you calling me? Have you called the police? And then the neighbor's like, why would I call the police? It must be an American thing. I was 9 or 10, so I didn't really dig deep into it. But I was also really confused as to like why we were the first point. Anyway, precise point. So we start freaking out, but we're like, we can't just go home and like do a standoff with a bunch of American people with guns. So we kind of waited, freaking out. My sister's freaking out. My mom's kind of freaking out. My auntie obviously freaking out because it's her house getting robbed. My sister's freaking out because she has this idea that they're going to take our passports. And if they take our passports, we won't be able to go home. And she's like really freaking out at this point. 10-year-old me honestly doesn't really give a shit. Okay. Because my entire world was in my hands in my pink Nintendo DS. Anyway, the neighbor then calls back and is like, okay, I've seen them, they've gone, they've left. We come back to the house to see the damage. Doors broken in, they've taken a TV, they've taken a couple laptops. They did a shit in the toilet and they didn't flush. That was really gross. They had enough time to take a shit. Like, they feared nothing. They took a like couple gadgets and devices and stuff. Most notable for this story is my sister then walks in. She's scrambling for her bags. We're making sure our passport's in there and everything. And she screams no. And she falls to her knees. Okay. She genuinely falls into her knees. She starts hysterically crying. She's so upset. My mom's like, bro, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? They're like, they've taken my Nintendo. They've taken my Nintendo DSi. They've taken my Nintendo DSi. And my mom's like, oh, like, it's okay. It's just a game. Like, get over yourself. We're safe. Everybody's safe. Nobody's been harmed. Like, it's fine. Like, you know what? My auntie did get her house broken into. Your little Nintendo DS. Like, come on, grow up. And in that moment, I genuinely think I'm a very empathetic person. And in that moment, I was thinking, what would a good little sister do? What would a good little sister do to help my sister in this moment? Because she was genuinely she was really upset. And my sister's not a crier, but she was crying and she was really upset. And I just thought like, wow, like, imagine if I was in her shoes, you know? How would I feel? How would I want somebody to comfort me? So I came down on the floor with her. I gave her a hug. I then walked around to the front of her and knelt down in front of her. At this point, she had kind of stopped crying. She was just kind of like, oh, fuck, like, my Nintendo, oh no, no, no. And then I went to her and I was like, it's all okay, you know? It's all that thing. You didn't even like that game that much anyway. You know what's really crazy is that if you really reflect on the situation and you didn't think you were better than me and you bought your Nintendo DSi to the mall, like, this wouldn't have happened. But I'm kind and I'm very empathetic. Imagine this as 9-year-old me. Speaking with like all of the vernacular of like a full adult. Yeah, I was like, but I'm like a kind sister. Like, I'm a good person. You can play my Nintendo DS whenever you want. Obviously, for a fee, it'd be £10 for every 10 minutes that you want to play. And then my sister glares at me. She's like, you won't even share. And you know how selfish that is? I was like, no, 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 no. This wouldn't have happened. This is karma. This is God's punishment for you for thinking you're better than me. And then I pull out my Nintendo Pink DS and I play, and it's the Mario Kart, like the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games theme song. That's also one of the games she lost, which was her favorite game. And it was just playing. I was like, oh, let me go beat my high score. Do you want to? Oh, wait, you can't play with me. And then she knocked my front 2 teeth out. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this story because today we are going to be talking about video games, okay? And gamification, and how I truly believe some of the concepts and the principles and the psychological principles that are applied to video games can help you this new year. I'm becoming a self-help guide. I'm providing you some really cool, amazing tips and psychology this time on how games work and how these things can be applied to your New Year's resolutions and New Year's goals to achieve your wildest dreams this year.
Female genius.
The 6th of July, 2016, a crazy game took the world by storm. Young people, elderly people, all of these people alike, okay? And this game was Pokemon Go. And if you've never played it or you weren't there in 2016, where were you? Okay, so this game was basically, it was free to download. And the whole concept of the game was, in your real world, you could catch and train and basically be a Pokemon trainer. You would walk around the real world looking for literal Pokemon. I have such a vivid memory of one time in school. I must have been in like year 8 or year 9. We were going on a school trip and there would be kids with the Pokemon Go app open on their phones, really excited to be on this school trip because they're like, oh my God, we're going to be able to, like, you know, catch Pokemon like we've never been able to catch in our local area, right? And the whole concept and the point of the game was to get people outside and walking, so increasing steps, and there's this whole fitness element to the game, but also allowing you to interact with the real world and real landscapes, and it was free to play. And it essentially brought of the weird and nerdy people that would usually play Pokemon in their house and in the comfort of their own home, outside and interacting with people and in the real world. And it was honestly very beautiful to see. I was on Reddit looking up, Reddit is my favorite app, by the way. If you're new to Female Genius, get used to the amount of times I reference Reddit. Honestly, I should start drinking Female Genius games at the beginning of an episode. But like, every time I mention Reddit, take a shot. Anyway, so on Reddit, there was a story about this woman and how she met her husband through Pokemon Go. Guys, it's so beautiful. She had a kid and her kid was playing Pokemon Go. And her kid really wanted to, I don't actually really understand the mechanics of Pokemon Go, but her kid really wanted to like catch or take on this really weird quest to get this rare Pokemon. So she drives all the way to this parking lot. That is where the rare thing had opened up. So she's driving at the speed of light with her kid in the back of the car. She hops out and there are a group of guys who are already about to like challenge this cool gym, whatever it is, like to get this rare thing. They see her with her kid and they all back out and they're like, you know what, let the kid like, attempt to take the thing. So they back out, kindly let the kid and her mom and his mom take over the whole Pokemon thing, and he collects the rare Pokemon. And also some of the guys were giving tips to the young boy about like, how to catch Pokemon. One of the guys in the groups was like, hey, we have a group chat for all of us that play Pokemon Go in the community. Like, do you want to join? We do raids and stuff together. And sometimes we go on Pokemon walks where we just go on a walk and like, catch Pokemon. And she was like, oh my God, I would love that. And my son would love that too. He added her to the group chat. 4 years later, they're happily married and they have a kid together. Is that not more effective than Hinge? Is that not more beautiful? My point in this saying is that games have such a profound impact on our psychology and our motivations. People that would have never taken a walk or gotten more than 5,000 steps in their entire week were doing 10K steps every single day in the efforts of catching Pokemon, right? There is loads of studies and psychological research on the power of games. But most importantly, how can we take some of the logic and the motivation that keeps us playing these games for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours? The process of gamification is the application of typical elements of gaming to other areas of activities. We've all been there. I've been there. You've been there. Your mom's been there. When you set New Year's goals and you set an intention each month with the hopes of trying to achieve a thing, and it's so extremely difficult to do that. And I understand the sentiment of like, oh, you need discipline over motivation. And I do believe discipline is important. But ultimately, if we can find a way to hack some of our motivation centers or to truly understand what drives us as human beings, then wouldn't that make it a little bit easier to achieve some of our big goals in this upcoming year?
Female genius.
And a lot of this research is posited and oriented around this psychological theory called self-determination theory. So again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert in this area, but I've read a lot on this topic. There are many different types of theories that apply to why humans do what they do. But I think self-determination theory and gamification were the ones that were studied most in tandem. There are lots of layers to a lot of the theories that I speak about in this podcast. And as I've said always, I link all of the papers and references that I use down below. So please do take the time to read them and expand your knowledge. Also, in next week's mini episode, I will be going a little bit deeper into the self-determination theory, like all of the nooks and crannies that I just don't have the time to do so today. And it's not really the focus of the episode. The focus of the episode is games. But I do need to give you a quick intro into self-determination theory so that we can understand it more, so that we can better understand what motivates us and how we can apply some games and the game theory to our life, because a lot of games are designed with self-determination theory in mind. Self-determination theory, which we're going to shorten to SDT. I know I'm going to say STD in this episode. Is that even a good idea? I'm so sorry. Okay, self-determination theory is in the area of exploring how our intrinsic forces from our external world and our intrinsic forces through our forces, so like our thoughts, our desires, our things that we truly want, interact with each other, and how our environment shapes and builds how likely we are to do something. And we can split this into 3 different things: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And I'm going to define each of them in relation to self-determination theory for the sake of this episode. So autonomy is the need to feel in control of your own behavior and decisions. And it doesn't necessarily mean independence per se. So it's not saying that like, you feel like you're your own, like you're doing everything by yourself, but it's like having the freedom to make your own choices, fully knowing that these choices are your own, right? And I think a great example is in school, making the choices to study the subjects that you want out of the interest or the values that you deem important, whether it's because you want to be a doctor in the future, not because your parents want you to be a doctor. That kind of makes you feel like you lack autonomy. And so you pick biology, chemistry, and maths, but maybe you pick music out of self-interest because you love it and you're really passionate about this. This contributes to your autonomy. Relatedness is the need to feel connected to others and to experience meaningful relationships and a sense of belonging. Extremely important. Humans are social creatures, and as a sense, we tend to sometimes make decisions or we're motivated by this idea of feeling like we can relate to those around us and that we belong to the communities and we can fit into the communities in which we inhabit. Finally, we have competence. So it's this need to feel effective and capable of achieving desired outcomes in your interactions with the environment. For example, a musician who practices every day and sees improvements will feel a sense of accomplishment and competence that they can actually play this instrument, and that will drive them to continue wanting to do better and better and better and better, right? So these are 3 different prongs of self-determination theory, and we're going to go into a little bit how this relates to gaming.
Female genius.
So very important elements of games is idea of feedback. And a lot of games are designed to give you instant feedback or constant feedback to help you feel like you need to continue playing the game and to help you feel like you're constantly improving, to help you understand what you are, to hit those dopamine centers. I've done a whole dopamine episode last season. If you want to check that out to further understand it, then please do. It's a great episode in my opinion. So for example, the use of things like points in games or badges or leaderboards are really effective ways to get feedback about where you stand in relation to potential competition and in the grander scheme of the game. For example, if you've never played a game before, in Mario Kart, right? And the entire time, even when you're doing a race, you can see what position you are in the race. You can see if you're first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. You can see where you are in the game. And at the end of the game, they also reinforce the leaderboard. They play the best moments of the game. If you've ever played like Overwatch, and I think the thing that used to make me most excited when I played Overwatch was that you wanted the kill of the game. Like at the end of every single mini game, even if it was a slew of 3 games at once, whatever it was, you would get that hit of motivation because they would show like the best move, the best take, the best part of the game, right? You get badges when you play certain games like Fortnite or Apex to say how well you are in relation to the rest of the world or by the standard in which the game creators think is a good standard. This enforces feedback because you want to get better. You want to be better at the game. You want to get kill of the game. You want to be first in the race. And this hits the self-determination theory need for competence. If you're able to see how amazing you are and how good you are at something, it motivates you to want to be better. If you're able to see the gap between where you currently are and where you need to be, it motivates you to do better. One very interesting fact I find about leaderboards, and I think it comes to the sense of ranking as well, is that they found in studies where if you were too low down, so let's say if you were at the bottom of like, let's say you're playing Mario Kart and you're 12th, right? The motivation for you to want to become first is a lot lower because it feels so far away. It feels really, really attainable. Being 12th in the third final lap, you're probably not going to put your all into trying pushing in to try and get first, right? Because you're at the bottom. Whereas if you are second or third or fourth or even fifth, you still have that motivation and that desire and that drive to make sure you get that first ranking position. The gap doesn't feel so far away. It feels attainable. So that is something to be said. Another aspect of some games is there are senses of autonomy. In Mario Kart, you can choose your own car. You can choose, I'm using Mario Kart as a very standard example because I feel like everybody's played Mario Kart once in their life. But in Mario Kart, you can choose your own car. You can choose your own wheels. You can choose your own flying flag thingy. Is that called? Glider. You can choose your own glider. This provides you this sense of autonomy and independence that you are making these choices. You are designing your own car. So to some aspect, to some reason, whatever happens in the game is of your own self-choosing because you chose your character, you chose your car, you chose how you wanted to drive, you chose the track. There are a sense of autonomy in choosing in games. RPG games, if you don't know and you're not a gamer, is a role-playing based game. And those games, in a sense, are all about the decisions you make influence the likelihood or how the game shows up or the choices or the things that you end up doing in the game. So basically, the ending is completely different depending on the choices and the way you decide to go about playing the game. Is not one track. And that appeals to a lot of people because there's this sense of autonomy of finding out how your choices will align and link up to each other rather than a game that just has set field lines of choices. Another interesting way that games hit a parts of the self-determination theory is having a meaningful story in a narrative context in games. It contextualizes the activity in which they are doing it. It contextualizes the characters and it gives the game more meaning beyond racking points. Ultimately, yes, getting points and ranking high on the leaderboard and doing all of these things can be driving factors in the short term. But in the long term, if you do not care about, the larger story, the larger picture, if there's not a larger reason as to why you want to rack up all of these points and get further in the game to basically understand the character or to progress or to further get in the sense of a story or greater narrative, it becomes a lot harder. And I think that is why even games that aren't RPG games still have this sense of lore to them, even tactical games or even games like Overwatch. You'll find on like their YouTube channel, all of the characters, even if they aren't given storylines and narratives within the game, they have outside storylines and narratives and things that you can buy in to create a story and a world around this universe of the game that you're playing. This hits the need of relatedness, right? This idea that you are related and there is a purpose to your presence in the game that you're playing and in the world that you exhibit and you exist. Funny story is, I actually recently watched Arcane. One of my really good friends, he recommended it to me and it was amazing and I've fallen in love and it's my recent hyperfixation. And if there is an episode on Arcane in the future, don't even be surprised, okay? Because it's consumed me, mind, body, and soul. It's so crazy. But a lot of people watch the TV show and fall in love with the narrative and the storyline and the world and the characters painted in the TV show, and then go and play the game and are so disappointed because that layer of relatedness is not there because it's a tactical game, is like not an RPG or is not the same as watching the show. And a lot of people are just really pissed off. But anyway, masterful storytelling. Thank you, Girly Pop, for recommending it to me. So now we've kind of outlined all of the different elements of games and how games and some of the common themes in games like points and leaderboards and rankings and how they relate to the self-determination theory that we discussed earlier. The big question this episode is, how can you take these things and apply them to your life, to your New Year's resolutions, to the things that you do in your life to allow yourself to not only achieve all of your goals, because I guess life isn't always about the pursuit of goals, but to enjoy the experience of life in general.
Female genius.
Number one, and I think this is quite obvious. You've probably heard it in so many self-help books because I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I'm not a self-help podcast, okay? But it's adding a feedback mechanism to your goals, basically something that can quantify and track your performance. This helps fulfill this self-determination theory of competence, right? If you're able to see where you are and see where you are and see where you need to go, and you have this numerical metric to be able to quantitatively analyze where you need to be, it becomes easier to track your progress and to see how far you've come and how far you need to go. That is so important. And I actually think that this could be through actually assigning points and creating the sense of ranking. So it could be like in a week, you say, okay, if I go to the gym, that's 1 point or 2 points. If I make my bed every morning, that's 1 point. And maybe you can assign yourself like a little treat or a prize or something that you can do to reward yourself to complete a point. And then maybe next month, maybe your average of the week is to hit 30 points a week doing a wide variety or range of tasks. Maybe in the following month, you might be, okay, this month we're going to go from 30 points to 40 points. We're going to do 10 points more worth of things that are beneficial to my goals or to my health or to my life or to whatever, right? That is a really great way to track your performance. You can even do this along with your friends and create this whole point system with your friends. If you've learned a new song on an instrument or piano or whatever instrument that you're learning, you could set your reward to post it on social media. Hack those social media algorithms, hack the likes and the comments and those things that fulfill those dopamine hits and make you feel like you've accomplished something and make you feel very competent by posting on social media and having people be like, big you up, like, yeah, damn, like you played that thing, like that's sick, or like, well done, like you've come so far, or showing and tracking your journey every time you learn a new song. I guarantee you one of your friends will be like, hey, like I remember 3 months ago, you couldn't play Three Blind Mice. Look at you now shredding up the guitar like you're from Aerosmith. Like it's crazy, go off. One thing I also want to say is in games, okay, there is this concept called a side quest. And I genuinely think is one of my fundamental life philosophies, okay? Whilst I was at uni, I was always doing something, okay? I was queen of always having some shit to do. You would see me walking from one thing with football boots in one hand, my iPad in the other. They're like, where are you going? I have football training, then after football training, I have a supervision. Oh, what are you doing after your supervision? Oh my God, you know, I have to arrange music for this play. Oh, some people randomly call me and they'll be like, Jesi, where are you? I'm in AstraZeneca. I'm interviewing some guy for some Cambridge thing. Like I just always took on things that seemed so cool to me because I just could not say no to something that's not a cool opportunity. Problematic, that aside, there are problems within that, but I always love the concept of taking on side quests, right? And if you haven't played a video game or like an RPG level game, because it's not very common in things like Mario Kart, but this idea of a side quest is in a game, you have your main quest. So let's say in Pokemon, your main quest is to defeat the gym champions, okay? So you can defeat them, become the greatest trainer of all time. A side quest in a game might be, hey, this random man in this random town that you're passing through has lost all of his cows, right? Please help him go find the cows. In games, a lot of the time, side quests are optional. You don't have to complete the side quest to do the main quest, right? You can completely walk past the poor old man and his cows and be like, yeah, I don't have time to help you. I don't want to help you. I've got my mind tracked on that goal. However, typically, most of the time, when you do a side quest, there are so many untold benefits. For example, right, you go on this side quest, you decide, okay, I'm going to help this man round up all of his cows. In the process of doing that, you gain XP, experience points, which makes you more powerful and better at completing other missions in your main quest. You might have access to a special weapon or a special skill or a special move that wouldn't be accessible to you if you hadn't taken that side quest. You get treats, you get rewards. You also get a larger picture of the world that is in. Sometimes they drop a little piece of lore. Sometimes they're like, oh no, the dragon monster likes to do this. And now you get a greater understanding of the story. While yes, the side quest might not be needed or necessary for you to complete your main quest, it makes your main quest easier. It makes life more fun. You gain more experience. You gain new skills that help you in your main quest and beyond. And the world becomes bigger. And I want you to take that concept, that theory, and apply it to your real and your own life. There's beauty in completing side quests in the real world and allowing you to gain experiences and knowledge and things that you didn't even think were possible or transferable or things that could be applied elsewhere, right? For example, if your main goal this year is to run a 15K marathon, right? That is your goal. That is your dream. That is what you're aiming for. And your friend says, hey, I want to start swimming lessons. Your response could be, I could be running in this time. I could be sleeping. I could be training my body. Why would I ever want to go swimming if it's not my one particular goal? But the benefit of going swimming is, number one, the swimming pool might be on the other side of town. You now get to explore another part of the city that you live in. Number two, you get to meet new people in the swimming lesson. You get to spend more time with your friends. Your worldview expands. Your world relation expands. Not only that, being able to have the ability to swim means that by a chance, if you go on holiday, if you visit a new opportunity or a new town or a new country or whatever, you now have this opportunity to explore the ocean, explore the seas, go snorkeling, have this experience and this view of the world that you wouldn't have if you didn't have the skill. Yes, that skill might not have been directly related to the idea of running. It's in a completely different medium. But now you probably have better cardiovascular, that when you run, you're more improved. So yes, it might not be directly related to the goal, but look how better it made you of a human being in pursuit of that goal and many others. That is the logic and power I kind of want you to take from this idea of side quest, is hitting this idea of autonomy. You're choosing to take on this side quest because it's an idea of self-interest. A lot of the time, we have a lot of noise in our lives and a lot of noise for our main quest. You know, you've always wanted to be a doctor. Your parents are doctors. Your things are doctors. That is your main quest in your life. And sometimes we lose the sense of autonomy when we're going after all of these self-proclaimed goals that maybe society makes us feel like we have to do. But there's a power in a side quest that doesn't feel like obligated. There's a power in the self-determination theory of autonomy, making you feel like you're making your own choices to take on this thing that doesn't relate to this other thing. You're doing it out of joy in the will that you want to do it. It is hitting this idea of competence, because proving to yourself you can do something outside of the box, you can do something that you've chosen that you want to do and you can do, makes you feel like you are a better human being, and it improves your relatedness, because I guarantee you through this experience, your worldview is going to open and you're going to meet new people and you're going to experience new things. Take the bloody side quest. Do the filler arc. Do the thing that has been in the back of your mind that you feel like you don't have time to do or isn't as important as your other goals that you may want a chance to do. For example, I really love movies and I love films, and that's my thing, and I love talking about it. I love experiencing it. I like going to the cinema. I like it all, the whole shebang. Okay. I love bad films. I have a letterbox. I'm serious. I'm a film critic. Okay. I love it. And I always thought of this idea of, do I want to work in the film industry? But it never seemed viable. I mean, I'd studied sciences my whole life. That was always my thing. I'd never done acting. I've never did drama, GCS. Like, I've never just positioned myself in that world. And I felt like it was really far away from me. And an opportunity landed on my lap one day in November, where part of this film group chat that I was for, one guy was like, hey, we're making a short film. We need some extra hands on set and potentially somebody to hop in a shot. I was like, this weekend, I'm not going to be doing anything, okay? I'm probably most likely going to be moping in my bed, crying or being upset or overthinking some dumb thing in my life, right? Why not just take the time to do this? It's far, it might not benefit me. Never met any of these people in my life. It's not good, might not help solve my life problems, you know, but it's an experience nonetheless. And I went there. I met so many cool people that were so passionate about what they did. I learned more about the film industry and the love of making films. I got to try something completely new that I'd never done before. It just expanded my worldview, expanded my opinion, expanded my perspective. I now have something on my CV that the next person won't even have. Hey, have you produced a short film? I have. All of these added layers of experiences, I just think is so powerful. And none of this would have ever happened if I didn't decide, let me just take the side quest. It doesn't always have to make sense, but if it's something that you want to do, go out and do it.
Female genius.
I'm so excited for 2025. I've had a very tough and nasty 2024. It was not a fun year for me, but I'm very excited to have this pseudo opportunity to start afresh, to start new, to really give life to my side quests and the things that I'm really passionate about and I care about, and to just like have new opportunities and have a great time. Right. I don't even know what would my random side quest be. Like, who knows? Maybe I'll pop out with a rap album. I'll call myself Lil Jess. No, it needs to be more outlandish than that. It needs to be like Lil Gucci J, you know? And then I'll have a song called Ruin the Bitches. Like, yeah. Maybe I'll get pregnant. Oh god, no, I was gonna say maybe I'll get pregnant. If I ever get pregnant in 2025, you will find me in Arkham Asylum, rocking back and forth. I guys welcome to be budget. Oh no, that's like my nightmare. That's my nightmare. Sure, you never know what's gonna happen. Pregnancy is not going to happen to me. Oh my god, stop saying it. Stop saying it. It's creeping me out. Um, but yeah, you never genuinely know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to meet. I think that's what makes the new year feel really exciting. Even though, yes, each day can be something new and fresh, there's this just feeling of new beginnings, new start, new freshness, this new energy that gets pumped to life into you. And I know you're listening to this on January 3rd. And if your new year hasn't started the way you want, use me as a new reset. Come off this podcast episode, go and tell your friends Happy New Year. Let everybody look at you confused, but just know it's your start to your year. And if you're going to take away anything, your year could be an absolute train wreck, God forbid. But if you take on some side quests, I know you're going to have a really good time, right? I want to read more books this year, and I really, really want to go to Tokyo this year. That's like one of my big things. I'm not a big traveler. I've really just not had much of an opportunity or the time frame to travel like the past how many years of my life, but I really, really want to go to Tokyo this year. Like, it's just been put in my mind, and now I just really, really want to make it happen by any which way. I really want to read more books this year. I read, I think, 51 books this year. I feel like I can do 100. And I put down 80 on my goals, but I really want to do 100. Not even this act of like over consuming loads of books, but I spend like my screen time is ridiculous on my phone. And I just kept thinking, like, imagine if I spent all of that screen time scrolling or just watching random YouTube videos on reading a book. I could easily bang out all of the amount of books that I want to in a year. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm so excited for this new season of Female Genius. I know it's going to be amazing. I hope you guys love this new season as much as I am. I hope we think new beginnings. There are some more changes, like for example, every 2 weeks is going to be a main long episode like this one, and every other week is going to be a shorter episode. We're going to do book club. We're going to do book club properly. I'm going to be announcing the book of the month next week, and we're going to be having our first book club episode in February. So you have a month to catch up, to read the book, to know what's up. It's not going to spring up on you one random Sunday like, hey guys, the book of this episode, like, we're going to give you some time to like dig in. So if one of your New Year's resolutions is to read more, I have got you this year. Female Genius Book Club, full swing, February. We've got you. Right. We're going to have more guests coming on. Some of my friends are going to hop on this episode. I've emailed loads of experts who are going to help and provide perspective on things that I feel like I need to question somebody else. When the research papers feel slightly above me, I have found people that are going to help it make sense. And we're just going to have a really, really great year together. More fun, more craziness, more knowledge. And with that, I leave you with kind wishes for this new year. And I will see you next time on the Female Genius podcast. We're so back.